Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Game and Takes. I'm your host, Eli. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch. If you want to support the channel, the Cash App is up below, all under Game of Takes. Now, I understand that there was an uproar of people giving their thoughts about the ESPN firings, and a lot of people thought that a lot of those personalities were deserving of keeping their job. But at the end of the day, ESPN is a business and they are losing a lot of money. And from that standpoint of them cutting those guys, it's understandable, to keep the guys that are assets and get rid of the guys who are doing a great job, but they're not really making themselves as valuable to keep, right? And as we all know, Pat McAfee is a new recruit. He will be working for ESPN. I don't really know what he's like, what type of show he's gonna have, or the format of what he's gonna be doing. But I do know he's a high asset to the ESPN family, right? Now, the list of the guys that I'm going to name are pretty much household names: Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman, right? Max Kellerman, I believe, was the highest paid out of that bunch. And we all know he was with First Take with Stephen A. And I'm going to get to Stephen A. We're going to talk about his thoughts on the whole situation. He's absolutely very outspoken about it. But Max Kellerman was a guy who was with First Take and didn't quite work out with Stephen A. Then, he got his own show with Keyshawn Johnson and Jay Williams. It was a pretty decent show. I liked it. A lot of people didn't really like it. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought Keyshawn Johnson didn't know what the hell he was talking about, and I feel like he was always trying to defer to Jay Williams, and deservedly so. He's a great basketball mind, one of the best college basketball players of all time. But he would do that. I would kind of realize he would do that, defer to Jay Williams for information, as if Max Kellerman didn't know what he was talking about. And Max Kellerman doesn't know everything. We know he said some blasphemy over the years, but he knows his basketball. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And Keyshawn Johnson, he wasn't there. He lives in LA. He wasn't there in the studio physically for a very long time until, they knew the show was wrapping up. So I really don't know, but he really wasn't a guy who struck me as a guy who knows what he's talking about. Like, he's learning on the job. But Max Kellerman, a guy who's been around for ESPN for years, he made his name in boxing. I think he should go back to boxing. I think boxing needs him at this point. We've seen him a lot on Top Rank Boxing doing this thing, just getting back into the groove of being a boxing commentator, which I think is his best thing. The best thing he's ever done. His greatest talent is talking boxing. But I already talked about Keyshawn Johnson. A lot of people were mad about the firing of Stan Van Gundy, and I get it. I kind of thought he was kind of annoying. I kind of thought he was ticking Mark Jackson off a lot, but that's probably they were joking. But he's a guy who really loves his job, and I understand a lot of people were upset about him losing his job as well. He's a commentator for the games alongside Mark Jackson, and I believe, is it Mike Green? No, it's not Mike Green. It's somebody else. I forget. In the comment section below, let me know who it is, but I forget. Most definitely, though, a lot of people were not happy that he was let go. And then, the conversation started about, also Jalen Rose. Can't forget. Jalen Rose was fine. I thought Jalen Rose was absolutely phenomenal at his job. Very respectable dude. Comes to work, doesn't come to play, and great personality. And it was just a lot of funny things that went on over this past year. With Malika Andrews and him and that whole situation. A lot of people believe that's why he was fired. That's not the case, because he would have been fired shortly after that. It took a while for him to be fired from a different situation. He was just laid off. But Jalen Rose, for sure, he's one of the best guys that they had on ESPN for a long while now. He was let go, and the uproar, people say, how you let Jalen Rose go and Malika Andrews gets to stay? We know the foolishness that she does on a consistent basis, whether it be the producers coercing her into doing that, influencing her to do that, writing a script, or have her reading off a teleprompter to do that. The eye is in the beholder. She's the one doing it. We don't know the behind the scenes details. We don't know. So we can only assume from what we're seeing that she's doing that with malicious intent. See it on her face, her facial expressions, her attitude. We seen Stephen A. check her one time. She has her own agenda. One time she was on NBA, what is it? NBA Today. Jalen Rose on this particular episode, and she's talking about get your finger out my armpit. You can see clear as day, this man did not touch her in no type of way like that. This is just the foolishness that Malika Andrews does. She gets to get away with it. She gets to keep her job. They find her as an asset. She's eye candy to many people, including me. She's a pretty, she looks really well, but all of that aside, that doesn't make it right for her to do the things that she does. And people just being blind and ignorant to it because of the way she looks. It's foolish. I call out every chance I get. She's been doing this for a really long time. It's not just one or two things. It's several things she's done that is just disgusting. She just did something at the NBA draft that we all saw. I don't even have to talk about it. She gets to keep her job. Who am I to say, fire her or whatever? Hey, look, they find her as an asset in some way. Now, to get to what Stephen A said, a lot of people having their feelings about, this person shouldn't have been fired, that person shouldn't have been fired, this is unfair, and all of this and this and that. Well, Stephen A gave his take on that, and I want you guys to listen to exactly what he said.
1,250 folks have been laid off by ESPN since May of 2013. No one was surprised. Because when you're represented by a company like Disney and you have stockholders and shareholders to answer to, and you have budgets that you have to meet, and the mandate is that you lost $5.5 billion, this is what comes with it. So you have to make sure you transition yourself into being a liability or an asset. You have to make a distinction between the two, because just coming to work every day and doing your job, no matter how great you are, folks are going to look at the numbers. That's why I came on the air and I told you I could be next. What I meant by that is if my ratings drop, I could be next. If my subscribers wasn't growing by the thousands each day, would I have this podcast? I'm just tired of listening to folks bantering back and forth and acting like, listen, it's hard times, it's hard times, it's hard times. What has happened to ESPN? Business has happened. May of 2003, ESPN laid off 400 staffers. Where were y'all then? Oh, you were employed by ESPN. November 2015, ESPN laid off 300 staffers. April 2017, 100 on-air talent was laid off. What was the number the other day, fellas? 20. 100 were laid off in 2017. 100. November 2017, 150 staffers. 6 months later, 150 staffers laid off.
Now, if you listen to what Stephen A said, he said this is not something that's new. This is something that has been happening. ESPN has constantly over the years been letting people go. This time around, it was to an extremely even lesser degree. Because in years prior, you see the numbers of 300 being let go, 400 being let go, 150 being let go. And nobody had anything to say about it. But because now, and I get it, the difference may be a lot of marquee names. Those are household names that have been around for years. Max Kellerman, Stan Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, right? Those guys have been around for years and they will let go. But Stephen A's point is, where was all of this energy when 400 staffers were being let go? 300, 150. Where was all of this energy about who deserves their job or not? There was no energy for it. He also made some remarks talking about why he has the show that he has now that is broadcast on YouTube. Do you think he would have that show if he wasn't steadily losing viewers on First Take? The world is changing. We all know that television isn't the monster it was, where that was basically the only source of the media, the television. Now we have all sorts of type of outlets, apps, technology, right? It's a different world. So that time where TV was the only media is over with. So First Take is steady losing viewership, although Stephen A is in a lot of people's eyes, he is the main asset on ESPN. He's the star. He's the poster boy for First Take. First Take is the best show on their network. He stated that he could be next, and he explained it like, if you are a person on ESPN and you're not an asset, meaning you're not getting viewership, what is the point of keeping you if we're already losing money? Stephen A is a guy who First Take is still has the best viewership on ESPN, and he's a part of that. But as the show steadily loses viewership, he will slowly start to be less of an asset. But like you said, he has that show because he's trying to avoid what could seem like the inevitable, right? So he has a backup plan. But he also stated that he's not trying to go anywhere. He's going to work his ass off to remain where he's at. At the end of the day, I have to commend Stephen A for being very real, transparent. On this new show, I think it's a really great thing for him. We get to see an unfiltered Stephen A. You know, he don't have to hold nothing back. He's calling everybody out in the most vulgar way possible. The most vulgar ways possible. He's calling people out. No matter who it is, whether it be his friend or whatever. He's being 100% transparent. I appreciate that about that show. It's a really good show. You guys should check it out. Go subscribe to it. But I want to shout out to all of the guys who lost their position with ESPN. Those are great guys. Hopefully they can get opportunities. Maybe even come back to ESPN. I don't know. But those are great guys that I feel like some of those guys shouldn't have been let go. But I understand business, and a lot of you guys should too. You know, and think about it a little more.